It started the fire to keep warm.
Oh.
That's what they kind of figured it was. But the house didn't burn down. It's just the back part of it was.
So it's
burned.
probably just abandoned, kind of, if it's still there.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's still there or not because I haven't been by there.
We may have to take a little road trip, ma'am.
Yeah.
Go see if it's still there.
Go check it out. So tell me about living on the farm here. Well, you know what? I need to. Well, we still got one thing. Tell me about living on the farm here in Yukon. Of course, that's your whole.
I can
remember.
remember some of that. When we moved here, I lived about a mile and a half north of town on the Cemetery Road.
You're gonna move your sweater again.
Oh,
It's okay.
on Highway
92.
92.
The old cemetery road.
Old Cemetery Road. I was born there. About a mile and a half north of town.
In the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Were all you kids born at home? Who helped your mom born you? You know, who helped with the
She
birthing?
delivered her own,
There was no one there?
other than family.
Okay.
No, she delivered her own.
Okay.
Didn't Grandma help others in the family when they were pregnant delivering their babies?
Well, I'm sure she did. Yeah, I'm sure she did.
Well, what do you remember about living on the farm?
Well, I can remember we lived there, but I don't know how long we lived there.
Okay.
And then they moved from there. They lived a half a mile north and then a mile east.
From
No, 2 miles east. Let's see.
How could you remember?
from the farm you were born in? Okay.
Was that to another farm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another farm. On Wilshire Road. Wilshire.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how'd you get to school? How did you get to school? Did you walk?
I didn't go to school here in Yukon.
Where did you
I
go to
was too
school?
young. I started to school at Putnam City, but we had moved from there, and then we had moved 2 miles back west, and Wilshire Road, and that was the Ed Summers farm.
I see.
That's where all the Summers come in.
Oh.
Oh, so
See, they owned the farm there. And George, my brother George, lived on Ed Summers' farm
Okay.
and farmed.
So when Daddy went to live with them, did he live with the family or with George?
No, he lived at home.
He lived at home at your house?
No, yeah, he lived at home.
Okay.
At my house.
I thought he went to live with the Summers at some point.
Not that I know of. Now.
Okay.
If he did, I was too little to remember that.
Maybe so.
It was too little. But I do remember these places that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So your dad farmed the Summers farm.
Mm-hmm.
But did they live on the Summers farm?
They owned it. Yeah. The Summerses owned the farm.
And your dad lived on there and farmed it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then George also
Had a different farm. It was owned by the Summerses.
but it was a different area of the land they owned.
It was just a mile north of town on the Piedmont Road.
Okay.
And do you remember when we used to all gather at George's house on the holidays? When we'd come to town, we'd all go out to George's farm.
Yeah. Well, that's where you went.
Is that where that was?
On Wagner Road.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where they lived.
Okay.
On the go to the Piedmont Road, and go a mile north, and then you got to turn east a little bit.
Okay.
And it was
On
right
Wagner Road. You turn east a little bit on Wagner Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the house isn't there anymore.
Okay.
Our house, the one we lived in. isn't
All right.
there.
Then where'd you move to after that?
From there,
How old were you? Do you remember how old you were when you lived on the Summers farm? Obviously.
yeah, I
right?
was 4 or 5 years old. Because I remember when we had a flood, and we were on the Ed Summers farm, and that was 2 miles north of town.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a flood that one year.
Okay.
And the whole bottom was full of water. You couldn't even drive through there.
Oh,
Really flooded. You couldn't go through.
wow.
So Jake and Leo were going to wade through the water. I was 5 years old. I was about 4 or 5 years old. I remember this. And they were going to wade through the water to the other end of the pond, other end of the water. And they took me with them. So there I was, wading through the water with them. You know, the water it wasn't deep to where you're going to drown. It was just up to here, you know. And I was wading with them. They took me with them. We went to the other end, stayed down there and just looked around a little bit. Then we started walking back home.
And you waded back through the water, huh?
And through the water again. I remember that.
It's funny. So talk to me a little bit about you and Catherine, because you two were close to each other.
Yeah.
And tell me what you like to do in terms of playing together, like out there on the farm or when you were a little bit.
Tell the story about the dress. Julia had a dress. Do you remember that? And you took something about, you told me a story about a dress that Julia had and you wanted it or something. Or
The Summers girls had a dress. There was 3 those Summers girls. And they handed down their dresses to Julia and Mary, my sisters.
Okay.
Okay, they handed down a little black dress, which was a skirt, and it was a 6-gauge skirt, and it was a little jacket, and had that little bolero.
Oh yeah.
Little, not a ruffle, but just I wanted that little dress to wear so bad. It was black. And Mother and Julia and Mary, of course, when it comes summer, they were canning vegetables to put away for the winter, see? So they didn't have time to sew it. Mm-hmm. And during the winter, they, doing other things, they didn't have time. So I took that dress, I ripped the whole thing apart, didn't know how to sew, sewed it by hand, put it all back together. I ripped every gore and took it up a little bit in every gore.
And where were you when you were sewing this dress?
How old was I?
Where?
Yeah, how old were you?
Yeah. I'm trying to think how old I was. I don't even know.
I think you told me you were only like, 8 or
Yeah,
something like that? But where were you hidden? Weren't you hiding?
Yeah.
Tell us about, and where Aunt Catherine came in.
Yeah. I got that dress, I ripped it all apart, and we weren't going to tell any of Mom or Julia or Mary I'm doing it. So Catherine was my watchdog. She would sit on the bed, and I would hide behind a trunk. Mother had a trunk that tall, and yay-hoo big. And I wasn't that big, so I could squat down behind it and just hide. So if Catherine heard anybody coming that way to the bedroom, she'd make a noise. Mm-hmm. So I'd duck down real low and hide my dress and everything. So I finally got the dress finished. The next morning, I got up, I put that dress on. And Mother, they looked at me and that dress, and of course Julia just picked it apart. because she turned out to be a seamstress anyway, and she just had, you know, seamstress ideas from the beginning. She says, Mom, she took this whole dress and ripped it up and took it up to fit her. It fit me. I made it fit me perfect. I was about probably 8 years old, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, eight or nine. Yeah. Because I started to school, we had moved from here on Council Road. And we were about a block and a half off of the Northwest Highway on Council Road back this way.
Back west.
South. Back
south.
Yeah. We had moved there, you know. And then from there, we had moved to Midwest, well, it's Midwest City now, but it wasn't no Midwest City, it's all farms. Nothing but farms. Dell City and Midwest City were all farms. And that's where I was sewing on the dress.
8 years old.
When I'd hide behind the trunk. So when they looked at it, they were just floored that I fixed that dress.
Well, yeah.
And they looked at it, of course, I didn't have her machine. I had no sewing machine, so I was doing it by hand.
Yeah, I remember you telling me the story. Aunt Julia was like, "Did you see this?" And she was just picking it over, looking at it, just picking it over.
Yeah.
Looking at it.
Yeah,
See what she did here, and see what she did there.
Yeah, she just turned it over, you know, turned the skirt over inside and looked that I had taken up every one of those little gores. There was 3 gores in the front and 3 gores in the back, you know. And they were all put together.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's the story about my dress.
So what's the difference in age between you and Mary and Julia? They were older than you. Were they a lot older?
Well, let's see.
I mean, like 5 years or?
Now, Alec is 5 years older than me.
Okay.
And Julia is just older than Alec.
Okay.
And then Mary, there's Custer in between Mary. There's Mary, Custer, Julia, and then Alec, and then me.
Okay.
So when you were growing up, you didn't spend much time with Julia because she was a bit older, or Mary because they were a bit older than you?
Yeah.
They didn't really hang out with you or play with you?
No, because see, they were, by the time I got in school,
They
were about ready to go to work. Mary graduated in 1932, and of course she went to the city to work. And when Julia didn't quite graduate, she liked a semester graduating, and she had her teeth, her front teeth turned dark. And the last semester of school, she wouldn't go to school because she was too embarrassed. When she laughed, she was too embarrassed to go. And they had to pull all of her front teeth.
Wow.
Or I don't mean all of them, but at least these up here.
Right.
They pulled her front teeth, and she never did finish. She liked that last semester finishing, graduating.
So you said Mary went to the city to work. What work did she do?
Well, I can remember her working for the, let's see what they call it. What they are, it was a laundry like, and what they did was laundry, towels, and delivered. She didn't deliver them, she just worked there, you know, in the office, what she was doing.
Okay.
And they delivered towels to different places.
People, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know just where they delivered.
Like a restaurant or maybe something?
Huh?
Like a restaurant?
Could be at a
something.
restaurant or something, yeah. I don't remember where it was.
Because what I'm impressed with is all of you had very little education, but you're all very smart. That's apparent. I just think that's
Yeah,
interesting.
No, see, no, we did. Now, the old Mary went to, when she got out of school, when she graduated, she went to Drawn's Business School,
Oh, drawings.
way back there then.
Yeah, I remember drawings.
Drawn, way back there.
Did she ever graduate from that business school?
Yeah.
Did she finish?
Oh, yeah, yeah, she finished. Yeah, she got her little degree,
Yeah, certificate.
whatever. I can remember Dad had to sell a cow to send her to school.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
That is.
yeah. He sold a cow to send her to school.
So did any of the boys go to school, go to a
Do you
training?
remember?
Yeah, they just went to work.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
So I want to put a new battery in. Let's stop, let's take a break for a minute. I want to put a new battery in.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're getting close to the 20.
Hang on. Got battery. We're all blinking. Okay, so tell us about Isla Hanger.
Well, I don't know what,
Well, I know that Daddy and Jake worked for her and one other brother.
I don't remember who.
You don't?
I don't remember.
Well, do you remember Isla?
Yeah, I remember.
Tell us a little bit about Isla. She was a businesswoman.
She was a businesswoman,
I mean to tell you.
and no matter what she touched, she made money on it. What she did, she made money.
And what was her business? I know it was oil or oil service.
And yeah, it was, because they had a filling station in Perry, Oklahoma, and Custer run the filling station for a while.
Mm-hmm.
She and Jake had a filling station. Custer ran it.
Okay.
But then she was just quite a business lady. She didn't fool around with anything but business, and she was serious.
She was serious.
She was serious.
Now, didn't she have a crush on Jake?
Oh yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, see, I don't really remember that. I just know she had a crush on him, and she tried to marry him. He couldn't marry her. That didn't work out.
Didn't
too
suit
good.
her.
No. Of course, I wasn't, wasn't around them when they're like that. I really wasn't around them that
Like
much.
that.
But when I got out of the 8th grade, graduated from the 8th grade, I lived with them.
With Isla?
And Jake on 42nd and Classen. And I went to Harding Junior High School for one semester.
So Isla and Jake lived together?
They lived in the same house.
I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah.
This gal that he wasn't going to marry?
No, that she wasn't going to marry him.
Oh, she wasn't going to marry him.
She,
He
no,
wanted. Oh wait, no,
He wasn't
she
gonna-
wanted to marry him. Yeah.
she was ready to marry, but he wasn't married.
He wasn't going to marry, but yet she was living with him?
The same house.
Ooh. Well.
Now, who do you think owned that house?
Which one?
Who do you think owned that house they
Who
lived in?
lived there?
Was it Jake or
I have
Isla?
I have no idea. I don't know. I just lived there with them and went to school.
In the 9th grade.
And the reason I went to school is because I lived out in, it was Dell City then. And the roads, when it rained, the roads got so bad I couldn't get to Foster High School. I was about probably 3 miles. And you had to go through, when it got muddy, it got muddy. Well, we had a car, but I couldn't drive it in the mud because I wouldn't have anybody to pull me out. other families that drove their car, their dads came and pulled them out with the horses.
Oh.
See, and I never had that. Mother and Dad had no horses. So I couldn't go to school there.
I see.
So Jake said, just come here and live with us and you can go to Harding Junior High School. So I did.
Okay. What about Catherine? Where did she go to junior high school? Did she go live with them too? When it was
No, she didn't live with them.
Okay.
From there, I went one semester to Harding Junior High School, and they had a farm in Chickasha.
Okay.
They owned a farm in Chickasha. Mother and Dad moved on that farm, so we moved to Chickasha.
Man.
We moved to Chickasha. Catherine and I went to school at Chickasha for 1 year. They sold the farm.
And who's they?
Jake and Isla sold the farm.
Oh,
Whoever owned it, I don't know whether Jake owned it or Isla owned it. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know, because I never heard about, their business. Any of those things I never heard or never did. They were never discussed around me, let me say it, put it that way.
Yeah, because you were only in 9th grade.
Yeah, so they weren't discussing business,
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm around.
Yeah.
So, whenever they sold the farm, whoever's had the farm, we moved back to Yukon. And we went there and been in Yukon ever since.
And that was in 10th grade.
I was in the 10th grade.
And that's when you met Dad.
Yeah.
You like how she said that? Yeah.
Well, I started the school here. I was the only girl with about 25 boys in an Oklahoma history class. When I came from Chickasha, Oklahoma history was required, so you had to take it. So I wanted to go ahead and take that class because I had a semester of it, and I had to work it in order to graduate. So I was in there with about 25 boys, and the principal of the school would stand I sat a certain place right inside the door, right inside, and he could see through the window, and he was across the hall, and he watched me all the time I was in there. Every day, that man was standing there in that one spot. So I sat there every day sitting there, because I knew what he was doing. And of course, I knew him. We'd known him for years, so I knew what he was doing. And Tom came to school. I think he came to school 3 days. And I saw him 3 days in that class. And then he disappeared. And he quit coming. He quit school right there.
Oh.
Went to work. Of course, he was working already some with his dad anyway, carpentering.
But wasn't that during the Great Depression? Was that during the year?
No, it was 30, 40, yeah. It wasn't a depression.
It was after the Depression.
It was 40. See, I graduated in 41, so it would be 38, 39.
But that was at the tail end of the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people didn't finish high school.
Yeah. So that's the way we met. And then, after I got in school, this girlfriend of mine, I took up with one of the girls there. We became real close friends, and she was going with Tom's cousin. She was dating him. Well, that's how I got in into it. Yeah, they had a date for me one night. Yeah.
Okay. And so, did you ever date anybody else?
Oh yeah, some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, not in the high school kids, 'cause I didn't care a thing about them.
Well, who'd you date? Were they kids that were already out of high school?
Already out of high school.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
So, a few.
Okay.
Yeah. But I wasn't into dating that much. I wasn't chasing boys, and some girls are fighting over boys, and I said, you can have it, I don't want that, I'm not in that.
So were any of your sisters, did they like dating boys?
I don't have any idea. When Mary and Julia were dating, I don't know.
Too old.
They were older. I don't know.
Do you know if my father finished high school?
He didn't finish.
I didn't think he did. He never really talked about that.
None of them finished. None of the boys finished.
What about the girls?
Only one that finished is Custer, and Custer, Mary, Catherine, and I. We're the only four that graduated. Yeah, Mary graduated, and I told you she went to Drawn's business school. That's all. That's all that graduated.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Custer graduated. Alec never did. He quit.
That's interesting.
Well, I kind of wonder how much of the Great Depression, during those years, what was it, 32 to 38 or something, 33, 38? How many fell in there where, people didn't graduate. They went to go work to survive.
Yeah. Well, they just got, went to work.
Yeah.
Just got a job, went to work, earned money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Uncle Joe, my brother, Joe, he worked on the Main Street in Yukon here, laying the bricks on Main Street in Yukon when they were bricks.
When Main Street was bricks, it used to be bricks? Like right where Bass's is?
Way back there, yeah, way
like
back
Bass's and the Weaver's Tavern and all that were right there? Well, I didn't know it was bricks back then.
Yeah, he laid some bricks there. So see, they went to work.
Yeah.
They didn't go to school.
So when there were holidays like Thanksgiving or Christmas, what was that like when you were at home with your family?
Well, my mother would always have Christmas. I'll speak of Christmas. And if you can come, you came. And if you couldn't come, you didn't come.
And this was after you guys moved out. What about when there were when you were children at home?
I was children at home.
Okay.
I was children at home. Yeah.
Okay.
I was still home.
Okay.
I can remember that.
And so did she have a certain meal? Like a lot of times we have ham or
Oh, well, she had
pierogies and
pierogi, gołąbki, and all, yeah.
The Polish.
Pączki and all, a lot of Polish stuff.
okay.
She'd have poppy seed bread, things like that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So did she cook like for a week? I mean,
Sometimes.
because all that takes a lot of
A week or
preparation.
two before the holiday, yeah, she was cooking all the time. What she could make ahead of time, she made, and then what she couldn't, because you didn't have freezers back there then.
No.
She didn't have no freezer. So she had to wait. And I know, like, later on, she would making all of her pierogi. She'd have to make them that morning to serve Christmas Eve.
And how many people might come on Christmas Eve sometimes? Like 5 or 10 or 20?
Well, it's like I said, there wasn't everybody there,
Yeah.
but just those that could come from out of state, came if they could. And then, of course, the ones that were here in Oklahoma City or wherever they lived. Yeah.
Tell me about when you were 10 and you went to, was it Canada or Montana to visit some family?
Yeah.
Tell the story about that trip.
Well, we went to Canada.
Was it Canada?
Yeah, we were going to Canada. No, it was, who was it? Jake and Joe, I think it was, paid for the trip. And it was Leo and Frank that were driving. And they took Mother and Dad, and of course Catherine and I went too, because we were the babies.
And you were, how old were you and how old was Aunt Catherine?
I was about 10. Catherine's 3 years younger, about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So we went to Canada. They went to the bank and thought they got all the right papers to go into Canada to see Mother's mother.
Mm.
Her mother was still living. Grandma was still living. She was 82 years old. Well, when they got to the Canadian border, they said, those papers are no good. We can't let you through. So we came back to one of Dad's nieces, and she was just about 10 miles from the Canadian border, but you had to go around 20 miles to get through the border to get into Canada.
Do you remember that niece's name?
So,
Do you remember the niece's name that you went to?
No, I don't remember which one.
Okay.
And anyway, we went back to her house, and what they did is Dad didn't go, but just Mother and the boys and Catherine and I, because Dad wouldn't go. He said he wouldn't go back. He wouldn't go because I don't know whether it was because when he come over or something, but he said, I'm not going to go. I don't want to get in trouble. So that's what, because they had to sneak out of the country over there to get to Canada,
Or sneak out of Poland?
You have to sneak out, yeah. And if they knew that your family was over here, sometimes they tortured the family that was there. Yeah, they would torture them. So they didn't want to let them know that they were here or what,
Yeah.
Well, that's what that was. That happened.
So then you and Jake and
Catherine.
Not Jake, Custer.
Custer.
I mean, Leo and Frank is the one that was
Leo
driving.
and Frank that drove.
We went, but Mother wore a different hat. That cousin wore a different hat. Of course, we were just little kids, so we just sat down, there, like on the floor. And of course, the boys, they had never been to Canada, so they'd never be
So
recognized.
There was a cousin that went with you too, or just you and Catherine?
Just us.
Okay.
They didn't go.
Okay.
So we went there and went to my aunt's house, Mother's sister,
And what was her name?
Rosie,
Okay.
Oh, Aunt Rose.
Aunt Rose Knight, and Grandma lived with her. So
Was that Harry and, no,
Harry Fedena,
Harry and, okay.
Josephine, that's Josephine, Harry and Josephine.
Harry and Josephine. So who was Rose married to?
Knight, she
Okay.
was married to a Knight,
Okay.
but Grandma lived with her.
Now, how often had you, growing up, how often have you seen your grandmother, is that Stefanovich?
Never, yeah.
That was the first time you ever saw her?
Never, yeah.
And that was the last time you saw her?
She died the next year, yeah. Only time I saw her.
So
And
she didn't even know you existed?
Oh, yeah, she knew.
But she
because
just knew.
They wrote back and forth. Yeah, she knew.
Oh, in Polish?
I don't know whether it's Polish or what,
Okay.
but they knew that we existed. Yeah. So that's the way that was. But then we went over there and nothing was said, so we came back and that was it. We got to see Grandma. That was what Mother, they sent Mother, they paid for us to go to see Mother. Grandma, for Mother to see her mother.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only time. And Mother hadn't seen her in quite a while. She hadn't seen her in quite a while.
Yeah.
When she was in North Dakota and Montana,
Right.
she couldn't. She didn't have money to go back and forth. You
Right.
know. So she couldn't go. So that's what that was. They paid for that, for there to go. I remember that.
So did Grandma ever talk to you about things that she liked or didn't like or made her feel sad or any emotions?
Your mother?
No, she
She
didn't.
wasn't a talker?
No, she wasn't. Mm-mm. She never said anything
Okay.
like that.
Did she get mad about things? Did she get mad?
Well,
She ever curse?
no, she never cursed.
Did she talk a lot was her native language Polish?
Oh, yeah, a lot of it was Polish.
Did she talk a lot in Polish?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
Did you understand what she was
I
saying?
could understand what she was saying. Yeah. I could understand it.
Did you ever talk Polish to her back,
No, I never did. Mm-mm.
Did she understand much English?
Yeah. Yeah, she learned English. When you got kids going to school and they come home from school and they're talking English, you're learning.
She kind of learned some of it.
Yeah.
And you were talking to your brothers and sisters in English.
Uh-huh.
So you guys were all talking in English.
Yeah, so we did, yeah. See, the older kids didn't know nothing but Polish, but they're at first, like Mike and Joe and George.
Yeah.
But then it got to where you had to go, by the time you went to school, had to learn English. So that's what it is. No, she never did really, she never criticized.
Okay. We're off again.
Okay.
3 seconds, 4 seconds.
She
Okay.
never did.
Although she had a lot of daughter-in-laws. And the girl, Mary didn't get along with some of them.
With some of the daughter-in-laws, the
Yeah.
wives of the brothers.
Brothers, yeah.
And you said that my grandmother did not criticize other people.
No, she wasn't one to criticize like
Okay.
that. I can remember her telling, when we lived in Midwest City, Dell City, one of the boys got married. One of our neighbor boys got married.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard one of them say, well, he had to get married. And I've heard Mother say, and I've heard her tell the boys, now if you get married, you make your bed and you sleep in it. That's the way she told them, just like that.
Yeah.
You get married now, make your bed and sleep in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or stay single. See?
Yeah.
So that's the scolding you got. That's what you got.
Right.
They got from her.
Yeah.
That I know of.
Do you remember any other little things she would say like that?
No, well, no. Well, there's things even about the daughter-in-law. She never would talk about them.
Oh, yeah.
No, she never would. She wasn't one that was gossiping or talking like that.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have time. She didn't have time. She had one baby after another one, and good Lord, she didn't have time to sit and gossip.
No, she didn't.
So talk about when you found out you had a brother, your oldest brother.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know I knew I had a brother.
Oh, you
Because
did?
Mother always said, Mike is not dead, he's alive. Is that working?
Yeah, I'm just checking.
She always said, her gut feeling told her, Mike is alive.
And she would say that out loud, so
Yeah,
you would have heard that.
I've heard her say
But you
it.
didn't know who Mike was other than your brother.
Yeah, I
Okay.
knew who he was, but I had never met him. Well, he went to Washington, D.C. from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he was a driver there delivering meat to grocery stores. Then he decided he'd go into the cab business, and he lived with a couple in their home. And he would have his cab. And finally, they liked him so well that she said, Mike, why don't you just let me fix meals for you like I do my husband. They didn't have any children. And then they made arrangements to pay, each had paid whatever they arranged to pay, you know. And then when this niece of hers, her husband was an alcoholic, so she dumped him. And she was struggling. So this lady had asked Mike if he would go live in her home. She had a room, and she could rent the room out to him to help her out. Well, she had 3 children, and her mother took one, and then she kept 2 children. So that's how, when you heard of Mike and Harriet, that's how you heard of them. But they never married. They weren't sweethearts. They weren't just people living there.
So how did your mother find out that he actually was still alive?
Okay, my Uncle Anton, on his farm, he had a son named Anton. Cousin Anton lived on that farm. So Harriet said to Mike one day, why don't you write to your family and see where your family is? He said, well, I don't know where any of my family is, only Uncle Anton. I remember him. So he sat down. I don't know whether he wrote it or whether she wrote it. And they wrote it to Anton Sokolosky. Well, my cousin got it. His name was Anton. That was the son of Uncle Anton. And what he did, he opened it, read it, and the next day he's put it in an envelope, sealed it up, and sent it to us. And in the letter, he said that, Uncle Emil, I think this belongs to you. This don't belong to us. So, of course, after we read it, we knew it was our Mike. Mother says, oh, that's our Mike. And he sent a little picture. He sent him a little picture, like about that size. Well, we knew it. Mother knew it was Mike when she saw the picture.
Yeah.
So that's how
she knew he was still alive.
And I had the address. I wrote to him. And,
how old were you? How old were you?
About 17 probably.
Okay.
16, 17 when I wrote to him. And by the time I got to see him, I was 18 and graduating. And he came down here.
Wow.
And we lived on the house where the little cabin was. We lived in that house at that time. And he came here to visit after I wrote to him and told him the history and everything, you know. And then he came down. That's the first time I'd ever seen him. I was 18 years old.
And did Mike keep in touch with the family after that?
I did. I kept in touch with him, and he kept in touch with me.
Okay.
No, he never kept, none of the family kept in touch with him.
Okay.
They just acted like they didn't have a brother. So I
wonder why that was.
I didn't press it, so I just, and the reason he came here to Oklahoma when he retired, when I went to Washington, D.C., I was going to New York, Trenton, New Jersey, because Tom was in the service. And I was going to follow him. So I was going to Trenton, New Jersey, and I knew that he was there. Wait a minute, I'm thinking now. I had gone to Trenton, New Jersey, and we stopped by and saw Mike. That's what it was.
In Washington.
Mm-hmm.
D.C.,
Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
where he was a taxi cab
He was
driver.
a taxi cab driver. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. And then I had told him, then she said, you and I went back one
Well,
time.
yeah, that was in the 70s. I was about 12, somewhere around 10 or 12 years old. Yeah, that was
Then
in
I
the
went
70s.
back up there to see him, and I told him then, I said, now, Mike, I can't help you too much up here. I said, well, if you get sick, I can't help you. We've got a veterans hospital here. I said, I might be able to help you if you was near me. And he packed up, and the lady that he was living with, she had Alzheimer's already.
Okay.
And
Harriet.
he did, yeah. And they were, like I said, there was not no love or nothing
Right,
like
they
that.
were just friends.
Well,
Yeah.
it just was convenient.
Yeah,
A place to
yeah,
share.
Mhm.
yeah. So he did, when he got to where he had heart trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got to where he couldn't do for himself, he packed up and come here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I said, I can help you do something for you here and be here and watch you and help you.
Who did he move in with when he moved
Well, me. He moved in
Yeah.
with me when he came
here?
here.
When he first came,
Mhm.
right?
Here at this house?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then Julia found out he came.
Yeah.
And Julia said, I wonder if he could come up and move up here and he and I could live together, because she had already had her aneurysm
Mm-hmm.
and she'd been through that, everything,
Mm-hmm.
and she needed somebody to live with.
Mm-hmm.
So he got on a plane and went up there.
And she lived where in do you remember where in California?
Beckerville.
She was in Vacaville.
Julia,
was Mary.
Julia was living with Mary because she had
Oh.
had her.
Okay, in Vacaville.
Mhm.
Okay.
And they were at Mary's. Oh, they were at Mary's.
Yeah.
And he always slept till about 11 o'clock at night, in the morning. So this one morning he never got up. And it was later on they decided, well, we better look in on him. Well, they went in and looked on him and he was dead.
Hmm.
But he had heart trouble,
Okay.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he came here, he had those, what do you call those little pills you take for your heart?
Oh, nitroglycerin.
Nitroglycerin.
Yep.
He came here and he says, I'm out of my nitroglycerin pills and I can't get them. So I took him to my doctor, and the doctor gave him, give us a prescription for 100 pills for him, because I told him he was going to California and he needed those pills. So he gave me a prescription and I got that, and he took those pills with him, see.
Mm-hmm.
But he was having heart trouble then.
I think this is long enough. Can you think of anything that we need to ask her that might be fun to know? But I can't think of anything.
Now, the only thing I was going to ask is when your grandma and grandpa on your mother's side came over to Canada, and you said your mother came with them, was there any other siblings that came with your mother to Canada?
Yes, right here. Here's something I say sadly. Uncle Jerry,
Okay,
that's that mother's brother,
okay,
Uncle Jerry, and Aunt Josephine,
okay,
Aunt Mary,
okay.
and Aunt Rose.
So,
Rose.
Four.
so 4 of them came,
Mm-hmm.
and that was all of the children.
Yeah, that was all.
So that whole family came.
Yeah.
In comparison
there
to
was
when
other children in the family, but they were deceased. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In comparison, when your dad came, he didn't come with all of his family.
He came by himself with these men, and they were in Canada as friends, but then he moved away,
Mm-hmm.
he moved Montana and then North Dakota and then here, And I don't know where the other men moved to or if they moved.
Now, did he go back to Poland and then come back with some of his half siblings or something?
Who?
Or your dad?
My dad didn't go back to Poland.
He stayed here.
His
But
dad.
he sent for.
No,
No?
his dad came on his own with his 3 sons.
Okay.
You follow me?
So that was your grandfather.
My grandfather and there'd be 3 uncles.
3 uncles, which was your dad. And who were the other 2?
Well, Uncle Anton, Uncle Joe, and Uncle John.
Okay.
Yeah. But he didn't send for him. Dad came over by himself. And when Grandpa got to the immigration office, he asked the man there that they had to check in with and everything. He said, "Do you know anybody by the name of Emil Sokolosky?" And that man looked at him and said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Well, do you know where he is?" He says, "Yes, I know where he's working. He'll go down that road to so-and-so, and he's working right there." So Grandpa went down there and found him.
That's crazy.
It's a miracle they found each other.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just a miracle. But
Huh.
Dad couldn't read nor write.
Because your father never went to school.
He never went to school. Couldn't read nor write.
Did Grandma's father go to school?
I imagine. I don't know, but I imagine.
I guess to train horses, you wouldn't need to be to
Well,
learn
no.
how to read.
Did your mother ever go to school?
My mother went through the 8th grade, which is equivalent over there. That's equivalent to the 12th grade here.
Okay.
Oh, so she did go
Yeah,
to
she
school.
went to school.
I'm telling you, this family's got some smarts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
Mother went to
you
school.
think about it.
To the 8th grade, which that was about the time she came to Canada.
She went through the 8th grade over there.
Mhm.
But she didn't, once she got here into Canada, did she ever go to school? No.
No.
Okay. And your dad never went to school?
Dad
Not in Poland or anywhere?
Mm-mm. No, but I'm going to tell you a story about Dad. We were living here,
Mm-hmm.
and he and Leo were taking a load of wheat to town, to the mill, which was a Crodal mill,
Yeah.
to sell. So they were harvesting.
Okay.
And they always go sell wheat so they can pay their helpers a load of wheat. They sell a load of wheat to pay their helpers. So they took this wheat to town and sold it. They were coming home. Dad said to Leo, "How much was that check, Leo?" Well, Leo said, "Well, I got to get it out of my pocket." He got it out of his pocket, and he said, told him exactly what it was. Dad kind of went like this. "Leo, that's not right." Leo says, "What do you mean that's not right?" He says, "No, that's not right. That's not figured right." So Leo pulled off on the side of the road, got his little pencil out, and figured it. He was $50 short. He had shorted him $50 for that load of wheat.
Huh.
So they turned around and went right back to town to John Prodel, and they showed him the check. John Prodel looked at that check and he said, "Well, I'll be damned, I didn't shortchange you."
I'm telling you, it's a smart family.
He didn't need no calculator. He scratched his head and it was here. Leo told that. I heard Leo tell that.
That's
He
hilarious.
said that was the truth.
Well, I know Leo read a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Leo liked to read.
Read. Oh, yeah.
Was he the only
Yeah.
brother and sister who liked to read? He's the
Leo
only.
was. And Leo was smarter than you think, because he read a lot.
I know Leo was very smart. He was extremely articulate and had an immense vocabulary that
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
No, Leo was very smart. I never discounted Leo.
No, Leo was. He always was.
So Leo was book smart,
Yeah.
Then you had the magician or the musician in the family,
Yeah, Custer.
Custer, right?
Custer.
What instrument did he play?
Everything.
Everything.
He played piano,
He could play
accordion,
anything.
banjo, French harp.
Yeah.
What else did he play? He played all those.
I played
I'm just
everything.
gonna. I'm
Let
just
me
gonna.
set this right here.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Leo. Custer.
Probably anything he ever picked up, he could play.
And
probably.
he played on the Grand Old
Louisiana Hayride,
Louisiana Hayride.
which was the precursor for Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, in fact, Richard told me that Custer played on the same stage that Elvis did,
Yeah.
and they missed each other by about a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that Elvis came just after Custer,
Wow.
because Elvis started at the Louisiana Hayride for a broader audience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I got a lot of pictures from Richard, and Custer's picture is in that wherever they've got it, where they keep all of
Kind of
these.
a Hall of Fame.
How
kind
like
of
a
thing?
Hall of Fame for
Oh
them.
yeah.
Custer's picture was in there,
Hmm.
and that's where Richard found it. They were going through there, and they were just walking through,
That's something.
and
Crazy.
Let's go take a tour of the old museum.
yeah.
The old Louisiana
And he's-
Hayride Museum. or
And
something.
when Richard looked at it, he's, my God, that's my dad. So he went to the people that owned it. He says, "Can I get pictures of that? That's my dad." Richard didn't even know it.
Huh. That's really something.
Mm-hmm. And then Richard sent me some pictures. I've got pictures in my picture album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
That's cool. Still going.
Got all kinds of pictures there that Richard sent me.
What else? Is there anything else? Because I feel like this is enough.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun. Thank you so much, Helen.
Okay.